Hi everyone, it's Stacy. Thank you for coming on this yoga leap with me. Thanks for joining me here. If you are new or whether you've been practicing with me for a while now, welcome. I do have my chair here. I will flow a little bit in between the chair and the mat as usual. So if you're waiting for me to give some instruction on how to maybe find a pose on the chair or the mat and you're waiting for me to catch up, just go ahead and find a few breaths in your favorite pose or a pose we're already in and wait for me to catch up for you. Now I do tend to move the chair around a little bit because it's quite light and I can move it around so that I can stay in the camera. You don't need to move your chair at all. It's a prop for you and you just want to use it to make your practice more accessible for you and your body. Likewise, if you want to use other props other than the chair and you have straps or blocks or bolsters, by all means, go ahead and grab those as well. I don't tend to cue with those just because I'm not sure what everyone has in their home space. With that all being said, we're going to start lying down on our backs or seated in our chair, and I'll meet you back there and we'll get started. So if you're not already down on the ground, you can make your way down to your back any way that feels safe and comfortable. And if you're starting in your chair, go ahead and make your way to a comfortable seat in your chair. I realize I've got my socks on here still, so I'm just going to take those off just because they can tend to get a little bit slippery. And we'll just move those out of the way for later. Okay, so I thought today we'd lie on our backs, get comfortable, and do a little bit of a themed yoga for runners, quote unquote. So you don't have to be a runner. I just thought we are coming into summer and maybe we're all doing a little bit more walking and hopefully a little bit more movement than maybe we've been doing over the colder months. And these stretches and strengthening opportunities will help you enjoy longer walks or even maybe a run or a jog. But again, yoga for runners is just a bit of a way to encompass the theme of the stretches and the strengthening that we'll see today. So, okay, let's start. Let's begin on our backs. We'll scooch to the edge of our mat, roll down using legs as a guide or just using your core strength. And to begin with, you can have the legs bent if you like, or if you want to straighten them out along the mat, go for that as well. I'm going to keep mine bent and just settle in a bit. But I do want to start with a bit of relaxation. So we want to, if the legs are bent, walk the feet a little bit wide just so the knees can fall in and that you're not using any strength to really keep the knees upright and bent. Let's take a breath, bring our hands either down by our sides with palms turned down or up, or if we prefer to start our practice with hands on belly and heart center, we can do that too. That gives us a little bit of just a little biofeedback for where and how the breath is flowing today. It's your choice, choosing what feels comfortable and closing eyes if that's comfortable for you. And if not, just maybe finding something to softly rest your gaze on. Start to just settle in, let the body melt into the mat or the chair. Feel the support of your mat or chair. Trying to relax through the upper back as well, especially if you're seated in a chair. We want to have an open posture, but we don't want to be feeling any of the muscles gripping. So likewise, if the legs are bent, like I said, just let them fall in towards each other. Take any work out of the muscles for a few breaths here. If we're resting one hand on belly and one on heart center, notice the rise and fall of the hands as the breath flows in and out. And regardless of whether our hands are connected to our body, can we notice the expansion of our bodies, our ribs, in all directions as we inhale and fill our bellies, ribs, and chests up with air. And then feel everything kind of draw back down into the center. The belly pulls in towards the spine. And then feel that expansion again on the inhale. And exhale. Two more rounds on your own. Inhale to fill belly, ribs, and chest. And exhale, chest, ribs, and belly. One more round. And you come to the end of your exhale. Just let the breath find a natural rhythm. Hands can come down by our side if they're not already there. We'll all turn our palms down so they're planted into the floor. And then we'll just sort of bring a bit of movement to the feet as we heel toe the feet back in, line them up underneath our, in line with our hips. And then knees can now point straight up rather than flopping in. We're going to start to wake up the body a little bit. We're going to come into a gentle bridge flow. As we inhale, start to curl the tailbone, lift the tailbone off the mat. Lift, 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 press into the arms and feet to help lift the hips off the mat. This is our bridge. Nice, easy bridges here, and then we'll exhale to lower. So creating a bit of flowing breath movement here. Inhale to lift. And exhale to lower. Keep going here if you're on the mat. If you're on the chair, I'll join you in a moment. You can do seated cat-cow, where you're just sitting and lifting through the heart center on the inhale, and then rounding through the spine on the exhale if you're in the chair. Continuing with your bridge if you're on the floor, continuing with your cat-cow if you're in the chair, and then a third option with the chair as a prop is potentially scooching to the edge of your chair, depending on what type of chair you have, making sure the chair is stable and still. And we can do a little bit of a modified bridge where we're going to plant our feet and press the hands into the back of the chair to lift the hips and find that opening and lowering. So that's an option in the chair, cat-cow, and a couple more rounds of bridge on the floor. Just meet me back there. Keep going, couple more rounds here. I'll try to catch up wherever we are. Wherever you are, inhaling to lift, exhaling to lower. We'll do one more so we can all sort of catch up here together. And just lower the hips all the way down. Draw the knees in towards the chest. You can reach behind and grab onto the back of your legs, or wrap the hands around shins, rock side to side here. If you're in the chair, you can fold forward, or just lift one knee in towards your torso and then the other. You can do that on the floor as well, but it is a nice opportunity to massage the low back good if you're on the floor, rocking and rolling from side to side here. Let's come back through center. We'll lower our feet down. We have a couple of options here. We're going to do a little bit of stretching. So we're going to lift our left leg up towards the ceiling. The right leg can stay bent, or we can straighten that leg along the floor. I don't have room. There we go. You will feel an increased stretch in the hip flexor if you're choosing this option. I'm going to keep my right leg bent for now. I'm going to grasp behind my left lifted leg, might be behind my thighs here on the hamstrings, maybe the calves, maybe the ankles or the feet, but we are warming up. So we're still maybe feeling a little stiff and we can't quite, reach our foot and get that straight leg. That's okay. We're working towards that. If you're in the chair, you're going to keep your right foot planted on the ground and you'll lift your left foot out straight in front of you. Let's just maybe do a few ankle circles here. Bringing just a bit of movement, always breathing as well. And like I said, we're maybe feeling like our leg can't straighten. So let's just start to bend and straighten the leg a little bit. Same thing in the chair, bending and straightening the leg. Seeing if each time we can get it a little more straight as the heat builds and the muscles warm up a bit. All right, let's extend that leg one more time. Let's flex the foot back towards the face. Maybe we're feeling a little straighter through the back of the leg. Maybe not. Let's do a few circles here to get into the hip a little bit. So imagine drawing circles on the ceiling or the wall if you're seated in your chair. And so that you can feel the movement coming from the hip. Another option in the chair, of course, if the chair is in the way and you find you can't do circles, is to just lift and lower the leg like you were doing. And maybe feeling that work in the hip. We're switching directions here. Keep drawing those circles on the ceiling. Try to make the movement come from the hips, not the ankles only. All right, let's come back through center. Good. Let's see if we can straighten that leg a little bit more. Maybe point and flex through the toe. If you're feeling like you're getting warmer, you may want to draw the forehead up towards the thigh. That might give you a bit more opportunity to straighten as you draw forehead towards knee, knee towards forehead. Or maybe not. All right, let's take our left leg now. We're going to bend it, cross it over the right knee, and we're creating our figure four or our seated figure four in the chair. Option to stay here or reach through, thread the needle, grab behind the right leg and draw those legs in towards your body, keeping a bit of action in the ankles just to help protect that knee. If you're in the chair and you're looking to increase the stretch on the side of the hip, start to fold forward over your crossed legs. See if that deepens the stretch for you. If you're folded forward in your chair, come on up. And what we're going to do here is listen carefully. We're going to release the hands from behind. We're not going to uncross the legs. We're going to cross them in even tighter. And then if we're on the mat, lying down, we're going to see if we can reach with our hands. So same hand, same ankle. So I'm going to give you a different angle in just a second. And then we can just sort of draw the knees in towards our body. It's a subtle movement. You're not going to be, lifting up off the mat and doing anything crazy. Just reaching for the shins or ankle and then drawing the knees in. This is a great stretch. It's sort of a reclined cow face stretch. So staying, if you're in the stretch where you are, it will look like this. And we're reaching for the ankles, drawing the knees in. Now in the chair, I'm coming to show you the option right now. So we went from our figure four, we've come up. And we'll just cross in a little tighter, and we might not be able to, reach for our ankles. So what we can do is do a nice twist here. So we're going to twist towards our bent leg and just help guide the knees, keeping them forward. You'll feel a little stretch here. If this doesn't give you enough, no problem. You can come back here and fold forward, or you can stick with your figure four. All right, I'm coming back down because I don't want to miss out on this stretch for myself, actually. One of my faves. Let's just stay and find 3 more rounds of breath, breathing deep. One more round. All right, let's just release the ankles a little bit. And we're going to stay with our cross leg here, and we're going to come into a twist. So you might already be in a twist in the chair. Option in the chair to stay in the twist you're in, or reverse the twist just to sort of counterbalance, twisting the other way. For those of us on the ground, we're going to let the knees fall over to one side. So I'm going to let my right foot come down, and I'm going to actually use the weight of the left leg to help guide the right leg over towards the left. So you are twisted, you're in a bit of a pretzel. We want to keep both shoulders grounded. Arms can come out into a T or cactus on the floor. And you'll feel with the weight of this left leg pulling the right leg over, a little bit of an opening down the right hip now instead of the left. Gaze can be up at the ceiling or over towards the right to add to the twist. Stay for 3. For 2. And 1. All right, Gaze comes back to center. Knees can come back up to center. Reposition the hips if you need. Let's uncross those legs. Step the feet wide. Just windshield wiper them a little bit, or any movement to help loosen it up. We're going to go to the other side. So you know your options in your chair. We're going to come through a couple of bridges just like we did in the first round. So remember the chair options. You can lift the hips up, or of course you could do seated cat-cow. All right, let's step the feet to center. We'll line the heels up behind the hips. We'll bring our hands down to the mat, palms on the earth. And on the inhale, we'll start to lift, squeeze through the bum, press through the hands, feet, lifting up. Inhale to open. Exhale to lower. A couple rounds here just to recalibrate the spine after the twists. Inhale, finding our cow or our bridge lift, and then exhale to cat or lowering down for our bridge. All right, let's do one more. All right, let's lower down. And then same thing on this side. This left leg can stay bent or can straighten. Our right leg is going to come up towards the ceiling. If the leg is straight, you might feel that hip flexor stretch, which you may or may not be looking for. And then we'll reach behind the leg, either the hamstring, maybe the calf or the ankle, but again, still warming up. Let's just do a few ankle circles here. Noticing how this side is feeling. Maybe bending and straightening through the leg a little bit to see if we can get a little bit more openness happening in the back of the legs. And then we can come to a straight leg, flex the toe. Here's where we'll do a few of those hip circles. So the whole leg is a big straight, bar of wood, drawing circles on the ceiling. Other direction if we haven't gone in the other direction yet. Just feeling a little bit of opening and work in the hips. Come through center, pause. See if we can straighten a little more. Maybe you even want to lift up towards the knee towards forehead. Maybe not. Seeing where we're at. And then if this left leg is straight, let's bend it here so we can come into our figure four. Let the right knee come open, staying here or reaching through, grabbing behind left knee and drawing it in towards your body, coming into your figure four. Remember, if you're in the chair, same thing. And if you're looking for more, you can fold forward over your cross leg here. In our figure four, you can rock side to side a little bit or stay in stillness. We're going to stay for another couple of breaths and then we'll move into that cow face pose. It's a great stretch for runners. It stretches all the way down the sides where the IT band is. And just really a great, great stretch. So let's stay for one more breath here. And then we can release our hands from behind that left leg, crossing both legs in tighter, reaching for the ankles or shins if we can, and then just gently drawing the knees in. So again, it's this sort of reclined cow face pose. If you're in the chair, remember you've got your other leg crossed over and you're going into a twist. Or sticking with the forward fold in the cross leg. Just looking for a nice deep stretch here. Let's do for another couple of breaths. And then we're going to come into a twist. So if you're in the chair, when we come into our twist, you can stay in your twist or twist all the way around to the other side just to counter that twist. All right, so for those of us on the floor, let's release the ankles or shins. We'll let that left foot come to the floor. We're going to keep those legs crossed. Arms will come out along the floor into your cactus. And then we're going to use this right leg to help guide the left leg over towards the right, coming into this nice twist, and then we'll feel a little bit of a nice opening down the right hip. Gaze can be up at the ceiling or over to the left. I know that's lots of lefts and rights. Coming into a bit of a little yogi pretzel. Finding our twist, finding our stretch. All right, let's come back through center. We'll bring the legs back up through center as well. And we'll uncross, just step the feet wide, windshield wiper the legs a little bit as we get ready to transition off of our backs here in a moment. So if we're on the mat, option here is to rock and roll up and down the spine a little bit, just to massage the spine out. You can omit these if you'd like. And then what we're gonna do is come into a boat pose. Let's see if we can come all the way up, sit on those sit bones and keep the feet lifted off the mat. We may wanna touch the feet down, that's okay. Just tap the toes down, one or both. We may wanna lift the knees more parallel. We may wanna lift them all the way up. We may wanna even let go. So depending on where we are with our boat, I know I've just kind of surprised us into this core work. If you're in the chair, try lifting one or both feet off the floor and feel the core engage as you try to hold your legs out parallel to the floor. Here we are in our boat, choosing where we want to stay, playing with our options. Lots of options here for 3 more breaths, 2 more breaths, 1 more big breath. All right, release the feet down. Come into a butterfly and fold forward. So let the knees fall open to the side here and fold forward. If you're in the chair, just step your feet nice and wide. Find a nice wide leg forward fold. We're looking for a bit of stretch through the inner thighs. All right, let's come on up. And we're going to roll over onto one hip and make our way all the way around to our tabletop. So we're going to do a little calf stretching. So let's plant our hands under shoulders, wrists under shoulders as well. Spread the fingers, press into the mat. Feet are planted on the mat as well, and tummy is engaged. If we'd like, we can do a couple rounds of cat-cow, stretch out that belly. In the chair, let's do a couple more rounds of cat-cow as well. Big inhales to drop the belly, open up. You can wiggle the tailbone a little bit, feel a nice stretch, and then exhale round. 1 more full round of breath here. All right, let's come back to neutral spine. Let's stretch out those calf muscles again. If you were a runner or doing lots of walking, the calf muscles are going to get tight. So I think we did this one last week if you joined me. Let's kick our left leg up. Keep the toes on the ground. And you can just gently rock back and forth here. You'll feel that nice stretch down the back of the calf and the bottom of the foot maybe. Do a couple more rocks here. Good. All right, let's come through center. Step the left foot in, change sides, toes on the mat, and just rock back and forth a bit. Just getting into the calf muscle, which is the back of the bottom half of the leg there, and the bottom of the feet, maybe even feeling a nice toe stretch. All right, come back through center, step the foot in. Let's just press ourselves back to child's pose for a breath. The legs can open wide, making room for the belly and heart center to melt down in the chair. Fold forward over the legs. Take a few breaths. we're ready, let's lift the forehead. Let's pull ourselves back up through tabletop, and then we're going to come into a lunge. I'll demonstrate chair options in a moment. So for our lunge, we're going to step the right foot forward here in between the hands and start to sink the hips down if we can. We can stay nice and low. Maybe we have blocks placed under our hands here to help us come up nice and high, or maybe we want to walk all the way up and rest our hands on our knees. We do want to let the hips travel forward, not just the torso, feeling a nice stretch down the hip flexors and even the front of the quads a little bit, so the front of the legs. So find your stability, try to square off the hips and sink here. Remember, options are to stay low and supported on the floor, the blocks, or the knee. Stay here if you're here. I'm just going to demonstrate some options in the chair. If you're in your chair, again, you don't have to move your chair around. I'm just moving mine around because it's nice and light and I can show you. I'm going to turn to the side because I have this nice chair that I can scooch to the edge at and step my foot back and really work on finding a stretch for the quads here and the hip flexors. I can rest my hands also on my knee or use my chair as support. So this will be our nice low lunge stretch. When we're on the floor and we come into our hamstring stretch for the chair, we'll just need to turn around to the front, outstretch the leg, and lean forward to find that hamstring stretch. And then final option, I know I'm kind of going through this a little bit quickly, final options that we're going to be doing is a quad stretch later. It's similar to that lunge. Option is to be seated and stay in this sort of lunge position, but instead of having an extended leg, it'll feel a little more like a 90-degree and really tilt the pelvis, and you'll feel that down the front. If it's in your practice, you could even reach for the ankle. So that's going to be our chair flow. And then of course, we'll all do that on the other side. So let me join you back on the floor here in that low lunge. Let's just stay for a few breaths. Let those of us in the chair catch up and find a few moments stretching out the hip flexors on the left. All right, let's hit those hamstrings. So if we're on the floor, we can release down to the mat if we're not already there, and just gently send the hips back, toes peel off the mat. They point back to our face and we find ourselves in our hamstring stretch, our half splits. In the chair, swing around to the front, extend that right leg, stretch out the back of the right leg. We can stay nice and lifted as always on the floor or the blocks, or we can melt down. It's our choice here depending on how open we feel. We did do a little bit of stretching work at the beginning. Maybe we're ready to melt down. Maybe we want to be up higher. Try to square the hips off by pulling that right hip back, left hip forward. I know it's hard to kind of see what that might look like. See if you can imagine what it looks like and feels like as you make these adjustments in your body. Stay for a couple more breaths. All right, let's walk ourselves forward again, just so we can plant the hands and step the foot back. Good, do a couple rounds of cat-cow. One more. Let's come to that neutral spine. Good. And this time we're going to step the left foot through, or the opposite foot if you've already done this one. And we'll let the hips sink down, and we'll decide whether we want to stay low, come up onto blocks if we have them, or come all the way up to our knee. Remember, we want to feel the hip flexor stretch. So we don't want to just be leaning forward. We want to make sure the hips are sinking forward, and we can even think about tucking that pelvis under a little bit. You'll feel that in the hip flexors and maybe even the quads a little bit, although we are going to do a quad specific stretch momentarily. Let's just settle in here. If you're in the chair, of course, you've swung around to the other side and we're on the other leg. That back leg, if you're in the chair, can step out nice and long. Keep imagining the hips sinking, pelvis tilting, especially if you're in the chair, and stay for 2. and 1. All right, as we exhale, let's lean forward and just help send the hips back, press into the mat, send the hips back. Remember, the hands can be on the mat. Maybe we want to come up onto blocks, or maybe we want to fold even deeper. So choosing our stretch here, toes pointed back towards our face, and square off the hips, pull the left hip back, right hip forward. Here we go. We've got a nice big hamstring stretch happening. Stay for 3. For 2. And 1. One more. All right, let's walk ourselves forward, bend into that knee. See if we can just help the knees step back. Find either cat-cow if you like, or if you're ready to sink into a child's pose, by all means, go ahead and do that too. Option in the child's pose to walk the hands over to one side and stretch down the side body a bit. If you did choose the side body option, switch sides here. Go to the other side. Let's come back through center. Now, option is to stay in child's pose, or if you would like to come into a downward dog, by all means, we can do that as well. For our downward dog, we're going to want to lift the forehead off the mat, lift the hips off the mat, curl the toes under, and then we're going to lift the knees and the hips up towards the ceiling. We can make any adjustments that we need. You can stay in child's pose, that's fine too. We're just making our way up to standing eventually. So some folks might want to flow through a downward dog here. And just increase the stretch. In your downward dog, the heels are reaching towards the mat. They might not make it. And we're thinking about lifting the hips up higher. This will increase the stretch down the back of the legs. And then we're also thinking about pushing the mat away forward this way, really sending the heart space through the shoulders. Let's stay for 3. For 2. And 1. Okay, if you're in a child's pose, lift the forehead, start to make your way up to standing. If you're in downward dog, let's walk our hands back towards our feet. We'll be in a forward fold here. And then we can bend in the knees deeply and roll all the way up as well. So we're all making our way up to standing or a nice tall seated posture. I'm just going to come into the camera view here. Let's find our mountain pose after we've done that big roll up all the way from the ground. We were down there for a long time. Let's just take a moment in our mountain pose. Feet about hip width, energy through the legs and core, shoulders rolling down and back, eyes closed or resting softly on a space in front of us. All right, when we're ready, we can flutter the eyes open. And we're going to move into that quad stretch I was talking about. Now, I showed the option in the chair already. It's very similar to the lunge, but maybe you're keeping the 90-degree angle in your leg and tilting the pelvis, or maybe you're reaching back and grabbing onto the ankle. This can also be done on the mat, lying down on the side. The other option with your chair is just to use the chair as support, as a balance support. So I'm going to have mine here just in case. For those of us that are standing for this posture, we're just going to stand. I'm just going to turn sideways just to facilitate the view. We're going to stand just with our feet hip width distance, really root down into the right foot here, and we'll lift the left foot off the mat. So again, you can use the chair or not, or the wall or anything you have as a prop. Let's see if we can reach back for that ankle, and then try to draw the knee, and return back around, draw the knees together. So we don't have one knee way out here or way out in front of us. We're trying to keep the knees parallel and the hips. So we're trying to keep, it looks like my leg's been chopped off at the knee there. It's a bit of a awful way to describe the knees being parallel, but they're side by side, and we're rotating and tilting that pelvis under. So we can really feel that in the quads. So you might feel it in the hip flexors, but we'll really feel it all the way down the front as well. So drawing that knee in, keeping the knees parallel, drawing that heel in, keeping the knees parallel. Nice big quad stretch. Open through the front. Balancing or using something for support in this. All right, stay for one more breath. Let's release the heel. Don't let it slingshot. Step down. Just step the feet wide. Just maybe shake everything out. You can shake the legs. Sometimes that standing leg gets a good workout as well. And then we're just going to switch sides. So again, you don't need to move your chair around. My chair, I'm just going to move it out of the way. I'm going to now come into my mountain pose like I begin all these one-legged sort of balance challenged poses. And then I'm going to transfer weight into my left foot this time. And I'll see if I can reach behind, grab onto my right ankle, but then I can see my knee is shooting way out. So I want to make the adjustments, draw the knee in, stand up nice and tall, tilt the pelvis under. There it is. I can really feel that nice quad stretch now. And I'm holding onto my chair for some support here. So finding a nice quad stretch, open through that heart center. One more round of breath. Keep making your adjustments. And then let's release that foot. Try not to slingshot it back. Release it down with a bit of control. And maybe just windshield wiper it all out. All right, I'm just going to move my chair out of the way. We've been doing a lot of stretching. Let's do a little bit of movement, and then we'll bring it back down. Let's come into a wide leg stance here. And we're going to come into our goddess pose. If you're in the chair, step the feet wide, bring the hands shoulder height. And if you're in the chair, you won't press up to standing. If you are standing, press into the feet, reach up, come up, inhale, and then exhale back down into your goddess pose. Good. Let's do a few big breaths like this. Maybe you want to squeeze the shoulders and elbows in as we draw everything down on our exhale here. Okay, come to resting. I'm going to show a few options. I'd like for us to try to get into a malasana, which is our yogi squat, but I want to show a few options. So in the chair, option, nice wide stance. You're not going to be able to come into a squat because of the chair, of course, but you can lean forward to increase the stretch, and then we can even open up and find a bit of extra stretch in the inner thighs and the whole side body by coming into a nice side stretch like that. If you are not using the chair and you're coming into, you want to try and get into the squat, but you can't, a yogi squat, maybe I should show you, is trying to come all the way down. I'm a little too wide here. And the elbows will press the knees away. The hands are just sort of coming together at heart center to help give me a bit of traction so I can press into the knees and have a nice tall spine. This is a big, deep squat. So I understand that we all might not get here. So there's options. There's the chair option. There's coming into a bit of a squat like we just were. And similar to in the chair, if we use our hands as support, we might be able to get a little deeper. We might be able to even rest one elbow and open up. So there's a few options in the standing. So let's start to play with this a bit. See if you want to try coming into the squat option. See if you want to add a bit of an opening to your squat. Really thinking about, yes, opening and stretching through the inner thighs as well. The thing is, you're going to feel work in the thighs as well. That's okay. For those of us who want to try to get all the way down, we may need to narrow the stance a little bit. Hands can come to our heart center, and let's see where we go. Toes are pointed out. Now, as we get down, we might see that our heels lift. If that happens, stick with the high squat option. If you can keep the heels connected, come on into this big deep yogi squat. I know we've been doing lots of work. We did all this stretching and now we're doing all this strengthening. That's okay. Wherever we are, stay for 3, for 2, and 1. Now, come on out of your squat. If you're in a yogi squat, option to stand up, shake it out, and then come back down to the floor. If you're in your half squat, stand up, shake it out, come on back down to the floor. Or option, if we have it, we can reach back and lower down to the floor. Awesome. Let's come down to the floor and we will come into a wide leg forward fold. So a little bit more stretching after a little bit of that strengthening. All right, to begin with, let's reach our arm long along the left, sweep the right arm up and over. Stay here for a few breaths, keep that right hip connected. Then let's kind of rotate the arm and chest so that we're now facing the left leg. Hands are on the ground supporting us, or maybe we've melted all the way down. But if the right hip starts coming off the mat, ease up a bit, stay grounded and connected. Let's start to walk ourselves all the way through center. We can pause here for a breath. And then we'll walk all the way over to the right. So make any adjustments. Keep the left hip grounded. Chest is facing the leg. Again, we might want to melt down, but if we start to lose that connection, ease up a bit. Just aim towards the toes with the heart space. Stay grounded and connected for another breath. And then maybe we're going to plant that right hand on the shin or ankle or on the floor in front of us and just press into it to help us open up and find the right side stretch. Fun little transition there. And come on up through center. Awesome. All right, let's draw the legs together. Make our way back down to the mat if you would like to finish your practice in a traditional lying Shavasana. But I know we started lying down, so maybe you want to finish in a seated pose for your final meditation. It's up to you. You can roll down, rock side to side, stay seated. I'm going to stay seated. And because I'm feeling a little bit warmer, I might take the opportunity to practice a little bit of half lotus. And that's where I'm bringing my foot right up and tucking it right into my hip flexor there. This is optional only. Otherwise, any kind of comfortable seated position or lying down on the mat, or of course, seated comfortably in your chair. We'll settle in here. Let's take a couple rounds of breath. If you're lying, just stay nice and lying. Maybe you want to reach your arms up overhead, maybe not. Inhale. Exhale, let's draw that energy through heart center. Let's do it again. Inhale. Draw it all through, like bring it into that heart space. One more. Inhale. Let's draw that energy. We can rest the hands on heart center or bring them down to our lap. Bow the head. Settle in for a couple moments of stillness and silence. Just scanning our bodies and noticing if there are any areas we're still holding on to any tension. Just maybe breathe a little loving kindness that way and let it go. Shavasana is the time for our physical and energetic bodies to absorb all that good work we just did and turn it into something magical, like strong walking legs and runner's legs, so we can enjoy our summer outside, walking around, and pain-free. The beauty of practicing through the lens, of course, is if your body wants or needs to stay in Shavasana for longer, let the video play out or press pause and just stay there for as much time as you want. If you're ready to bring movement to your body and you want to start wiggling through fingers and toes, maybe circling wrists and ankles, choosing to either stretch long along the mat or in the chair, or even curling into a little ball one more time. Just before rolling over, making your way to a comfortable seated position if you're not already there. Hands can stay resting on lap. They can come to prayer at heart center or just resting over the heart space. I want to thank you so much for allowing me into your personal private yoga practice spaces today, for allowing me to guide you through this little yoga for runners flow. But again, it's really yoga for movement, which it all is. And I hope to see you here again next week. Until then, take care, enjoy the weather. Thanks, everyone. Oh, I hope that a good, big, deep stretch like that is exactly what your body ordered for you today, and that I hope you have a great rest of your day and week, and I'll see you here again next week. Bye.